Shout out to G-Man. He recommended this interview to me, so I'm recommending it to you guys. It is an interview with WBC head honcho Mauricio Sulaiman, and the interviewer, a guy called Broadway Joel, who is a Dominican, he puts Mauricio Sulaiman on the spot about the Jermall Charlo situation. Jermall Charlo is the current WBC middleweight champion. He hasn't fought in over 2 years, and yet he hasn't been stripped of his belt. It is one of the most absurd things I've ever seen in boxing. And even more absurd is what Mauricio Sulaiman says in this interview, because he basically indicates that there is no time limit for Jermall Charlo to fight again, meaning they don't have, let's say, a deadline whereby if he doesn't fight by that deadline, he gets stripped. There's nothing like that. This apparently is going to go on indefinitely. They say we're supporting Jermall Charlo. Now, look, this is not anything against Jermall Charlo going on here from my end. It's just about boxing. What's best for boxing? Jermall Charlo may be injured and so on and so forth. Fighters get injured all the time. You can't hold the entire division up, at least within the WBC, for the sake of one man. So Jermall Charlo needs to be stripped to the belt. I've been saying this for the longest. The middleweight division needs activity. In fact, not just in the WBC, right across the board, but the WBC is the most urgent example in the middleweight division. So if we have a look here, you got Jermall Charlo hasn't fought for 2 years and counting. You got Erislandy Lara, the WBA champion, who is fighting just awful opposition. He's fighting once a year against awful opposition. His last opponent was Spike O'Sullivan. Okay, just to show you how awful the opposition is. You got the IBF champion, who isn't doing much. You got Aleem Kanuli, who's fighting Euro-level fighters. There is nothing going on, certainly not with the champions at middleweight. Among the contenders, there's a couple of fights, but nothing really. You got the Eubank Jr. Liam Smith rematch. You've got the, what else now? Hamza Shiraz, Denzel Bentley, potentially going to happen, although, that isn't official yet. Other than that, there's really nothing going on. Gennady Golovkin's gone missing. I mean, he's turning up on milk cartons. Where is Golovkin? Jaime Munguia's moved up. The fight he had against Derevyanchenko wasn't at 160. That was at 168. So there's nothing going on in the division. So as I say, it's even more necessary for the WBC to keep this belt moving, to keep the conveyor belt of contenders moving up and challenging the champion. You can't have a man sitting on a belt for 2 years doing nothing. It's not like Jermall Charlo is out here taking on weak opposition and refusing to fight good contenders. He's actually not fighting at all. No activity. That can't go on. So, as I say, I recommend this interview with Mauricio Sulaiman. And by the way, when it comes to the rules, because Sulaiman is quick to say, we haven't broken any rules. Yeah, but if you go and look at the WBC rules, and I've done so, many of the rules have clauses which allow them to disregard the rule or circumvent the rule at their discretion, which basically means the WBC can make things up as they go along. What's the point in the rule existing at all if it says below it that under exceptional circumstances, which you will define what exceptional circumstances means, right? You can circumvent this rule. Ridiculous. But most of the sanctioning bodies have this. The WBC are just the worst for it. They've got a long history of all this kind of nonsense. When Vitaly Klitschko was WBC champion, he was very inactive. I think he was out the ring for 18 months. It might have been approaching 2 years. Eventually, I think they made him champion emeritus. The Charlo situation, I think, has been going on for longer than that. And he's not champion emeritus. As far as I'm aware, he's just still full WBC champion. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments.